Hey Pawan, thank you so much for joining us to the Thinking Out Loud podcast. We are super stoked to have you here. Just a little introduction for the audience about who you are and what you've done. So, Pawan is the co founder of Finshots and Ditto Insurance, having completed his MBA from IIM A. Finshots was started at the concluding notes of your time at IIM Ahmedabad, and probably one of the most read pieces on finance and news is Finshots. And Ditto Insurance is trying to completely revolutionize the way we knew the insurance or insurance tech industry in India. So again, thank you so much, Pawan, for taking out time in the weekend to join us for this wonderful conversation. Super stoked to have you here.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Nice having me here. Thanks.
First
Mhm.
thing first, you're all co-founders are IIM Ahmedabad students, and you know, you started your
Not
journey.
all. Not all.
Not all. Okay,
Only
so
three.
Banu, you and one more,
Straight.
Shrehit, right?
Three were batchmates, and
Uh-huh.
our CTO, who is also the co-founder, he was from
Okay,
IT Delhi.
understood. So, what motivated you in the fact years of IIM Ahmedabad to kind of start something in the content space in the first place?
Oh, honestly, there was never idea of getting into content space. We never wanted, we never thought of becoming a content company. It started on a very different way. I mean, I was trading before that even entering IMA, and I had seen a lot of these brokers, stockbrokers doing a lot of things, and then a lot of financial media as well. I mean, money control and all. I mean, there was no one platform that was very unique in the way, something very easy to consume. I mean, there was a need for not just bringing creativity in the stock market. It's also to make the entire stock market things understandable or consumable to a millennial, or you can say a normal folk. Because if back then in 2016, if I asked some of my peers too that if they know about stock market, they were completely unaware. They were not even aware. It was an alien thing, right? So back then I was thinking, ki, why not do something in the stock market? So I was in my second year, and I decided that it should I should rather work on doing something of my own, start something of startup. Why not to start a startup here? And so the idea was initially not to dabble into startup because I was alone at that time. I started a project under a professor to increase the demat penetration in India. Now, along with that project, when I was working with him, I realized the fact that this is a good problem to solve. I mean, how to improve the demat penetration, right? Now, you can do a lot of things. You can make them understand content, and education becomes a part of it, right? Now, you will help them understand, ki, okay, this is something a lot of people might not understand the jargons, might not understand what is nifty 50. I mean, there were a lot of things that we wanted to solve for videos and all. So it was overall a project, and then I really liked doing that project when I was there. And in course of 2 3 months, I'm in the mid, I decided ki we have a scholarship there, right? Why not take that scholarship and start a startup? Now, when I wanted to, I before that I never had any experience of starting a startup. Neither I read a lot of books about startups. It was nothing. It was nothing there. Though I wanted to become an entrepreneur, but it was never something I thought about. And like some people used to read about these stories of Flipkart and a lot of young entrepreneurs that change. I
Right.
never used to do that. It was just all of a sudden that I decided, it's better than doing a job. I just felt like that, right? So freedom was something I really admire always in my life. So I felt ki, I mean, I thought maybe MBA will change few things, but it doesn't change. So I just felt ki why to go into a similar line. Let's take the risk in this life. Whatever happens, we'll see
Right.
later. As a person, I was always a risk-taking person, so it was quite not that a big decision at that point of time. I mean, Then I started searching for people who will join me. I started talking to a lot of professors, a lot of CIA people as well in our, because we have an incubation center at our
Mm-hmm.
IIM Ahmedabad. I thought, why not? I mean, why can't we should serve? I mean, I can do something. Then in the process, I met a lot of people as well. And meanwhile, my friends who were my current co-founders, they were also my batchmate as well, my dorm mates. So I pitched the ideas to them, and since that was just a 3 month old, 3 month before the placement, so
Mm-hmm.
I also lost the hope that somebody will join, right? But I was ready to talk to people and talk about the idea. Is we can do this, we can do that, right? At that point of time, the idea was just to become a stockbroker, intelligent stockbroker, like smart
Right.
stockbroker.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, initial idea is always a rough idea. You always iterate, right? So, meanwhile, one of my friend who's right now the main editor of Finshots, Shreyat, he liked the idea. He was very excited. Let's do something, and he was also resonating on the fact that I mean, what will you do when you join somewhere? Right? Let's start something here. Which I mean, the basic I think people resonated on the fact that you'll get to do something on your own, right? Obviously we all have loans and all, but I mean this type scholarship thing was something we thought maybe we could do something and maybe we could raise funds, right? That was a thought at back then. Pretty naive, but yeah. Then another co-founder who was my dorm mate, Bhanu Harish, we convinced him as well. We brainwashed him, though he already had an Amazon PPO. So he was a place comer, so in no chance he would have joined. But since he was a good friend of us,
Mm-hmm.
so we pushed him that you should also join. No, you should also join. And obviously, we thought ki maybe we need a good team in place. So yeah, I mean, we literally call it brainwashing of him. And we put him also in our team. We together started then and started working on this project together. So then back then we only wanted to talk about being a stockbroker and making PPTs and raising funds. That's what we used to think for next 3 4 months until we graduated. The moment we graduated and the majority of the folks left for their job, then the reality, we faced the reality that nobody is going to give money. You don't have the necessary skills. So how do you build a startup now? The real question starts: what do you do now? Now you don't have money to become a stockbroker. You don't get
Right.
that license also.
Yes.
What to do now? So nobody had like money also. So how do you go about it? So back then we obviously talked about how we want to make finance simple and stock market simple, easy. We started doing a lot of research in Ahmedabad, and then we started, "Okay, let's start with IPOs. We'll write about IPO because writing is something, making a website and a blog is something very cheap, right? That you can do from anywhere, and it doesn't require a lot of money. So we started with a blog called Finception, okay, and we started writing about small IPOs. That time it was an SME IPOs, small medium private enterprise IPOs.
Okay. Right.
Then we realized nobody reads these IPOs. Okay. Then we started big IPOs like Nestle. I mean, IPOs in the sense some current IPOs and some big companies as well. So
Mm-hmm.
we started writing about that also. So good design and good writing skills was already there. That in the genes. One of our, as I said, Shreyat was a good designer as well as good writer.
Mm-hmm.
So, and we all used to do research back then. And in the meanwhile, since none of us were a tech guy, right? So his brother, Bhanu Harish's brother, was a tech person who was working in the South Korea. He left the
Mm-hmm.
job and he joined us in the midway then.
Okay. Okay.
So now we wanted to become a product company again because we never had money. That's why we were doing all that.
Right.
Okay. So, and one of our founder was writing good, and we used to do research. So it's always better to do something because in
Correct.
the long run, we felt we can still acquire users, and these users can use our product, right?
Right.
So that was there in the mind. These users will know us. We will build some brand, right? So we kept on writing for that 8 to 9 months, and we parallelly the tech guy Lokesh who was there. We used to build something because we always wanted to become product company. We tried a lot of things. Why can't we do this? A lot of
Mhm.
fintech ideas which are now already in the market, we have explored and already figured out what will work in this market, what will not. A lot of things right now which runs sometimes sounds pretty obvious to us, and we never
Mhm.
ventured into that. It was very clear because we know where is the money, we know what
Right.
to exactly to do, but it's just a matter of who funds us, right?
Right.
So Finception was back then already established by 10,000 users. Obviously, we knew this is not scalable. We knew back then
Mhm.
we used to write one long article a week, and parallelly we were doing stuff that we could do this, that. But yeah, as long as you don't get money, you can't do anything credible.
Correct.
Then that Finception article, some one of the article, one of the Jet Airways video we made, it got viral, and somehow Zerodha's founder found it, and
Oh,
he invited us to Bangalore, and he decided to fund us.
wow.
Okay. Yeah. Then we said, ki, yes, you want to fund us, and hey, we are not a content or website company. We want to become something else, but we don't have money,
Mhm.
right? So then he funded us the first time for our other ideas as well, which were not visible at that point of time,
Mhm.
right? So we scrapped the idea of Inception, and we realized that short content will work because 1 year you have spent writing, right? You know
Correct.
what. So all of us as founders, we are aware how content works, what
Correct.
was happening in the content thing. We knew at least what media industry was doing, and 1.5 year we spent. It was pretty long time to understand deeply, what will work in this content industry and what
Mhm.
people want.
Mhm.
Nobody was doing quality this thing. Everybody was doing clickbaity stuff.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, to just get views and all. So we realized that is not a long run solution. So we realized we'll start with a newsletter. Back then, newsletter was a niche boom.
Mhm.
And even Zerodha's founder was of the same view, is to start a newsletter. And we started Finshots like that, because the idea was there that, we'll name it something like Finshots. Back then only we realized when we were doing Finception. And yeah, so we just launched it. Same thing we did. We had already a team who could write content and make graphics. Already it was there. And then parallelly we started making our product. Then initially we thought maybe we'll go dabble into wealth management, but yeah, I mean, so it was always two companies running parallelly. It just one
Mhm.
was only visible, so people felt we are a content company. That was the only
Correct.
difference here. Yeah.
Understood. So, just diverting a bit, because you said, back in the days you used to trade. So, like, I always feel if you're a trader, you'll always be a trader. So, do you even trade now?
Yeah,
Oh,
no,
yeah.
I stopped it.
Okay, you stopped it. So, because like I also have started trading, and I used to trade before as well. But when I was working with MNCs, there are a lot of restrictions, right, in terms of trading, investing, and
Correct,
stuff.
correct.
So once I stopped doing that, since last couple of years, I've been trading in all the instruments like options and all. So I feel that even if you kind of move anywhere, the trading remains an integral part, right?
Yes,
Like,
yes,
uh,
yes, yes. No, it took
so
me a lot of time to get over it.
yeah, like if you're doing something full time, you have to like be there and
No, it
uh,
takes, it's quite taxing. People ignore that.
absolutely,
They just feel
absolutely.
okay, it's just making money, but it's quite taxing. And I don't want to give a space, because at the end, what do you want? You want to build wealth, right? Now, the
Right,
real wealth is investing somewhere in building a company that creates the real
right, yeah,
wealth,
absolutely, absolutely.
right?
I think Nikhil Kamath is an excellent trader. Like he
Yeah,
does
yeah.
it uh, full time, because he doesn't have a team which he manages per se. Like I was recently watching him as well. So he
Okay.
does all this. He manages their entire fund, because they've started this new fund as well where they're investing in startups and stuff. So yeah, I think trading has always been very attractive, and because it gives that adrenaline rush, I feel that
That is
dopamine
the
hit
reason. That
comes
is the
in.
reason. That
Yeah,
is the reason why I did
correct.
also.
Agreed. Yep. But
Uh,
yeah, honestly, great story. Sorry, go ahead, Samarth.
So, Pawan, just two, follow up questions on, the entire Finshot story, right? So, I think this question is something that probably a lot of people would have asked you, but just to double click on it, as to how did Finshots manage their revenue or their finances in the early months, right? Because again, that time you did not receive any external funding, correct? And secondly, I think at that time the startup boom slowly was happening, right? So essentially what happens is that people have a rough idea prototype, or a semi-functional MVP, and then they go to investors to get funding, right? But what you were saying was there were two companies running parallelly. One was visible, one wasn't, right? And then Zerodha founders came to you. So I mean, what approach were you taking is my question, right? Because most founders go to VCs or angels to raise funds, but for your journey it was a little different. So just wanted to understand the perspective on these two things.
Yeah. So the reason, see, the point is Finshots started after Finception. When we raised money from Zerodha, then we launched Finshots. So money we had, Zerodha invested, so we ran Finshots. Even before Finshots, we used to have, we were running that on the stipends, okay? Our own salaries, we were running on that, right? Now, even if Zerodha have not funded it, right, we could have run on the stipend, same thing, Finshot, because it's running it, because everything is done by founders there in Finshot. So
Correct.
you don't need any external money. There was no employee, there was no hire, okay? So it was as good as zero expense, this thing, whatever we were spending on here and there, this, that thing. But yeah, so money was not an issue after we raised funds from Zerodha, and through that we hired people and ran parallelly things. So VC's approach, what you asked in the second this thing, we tried a lot of VCs during our inception days, but we realized, I mean, they don't understand what we want to do, and
Correct.
our mindset doesn't match at all. Okay, and we thought in a different direction. We were doing something that don't scale, but will scale after a while once you master that skill, right? So, and VC approach, we realized after a year and a half that this is not the right direction to ever go, and
Correct.
we realized that we will never go in that direction. That's in at least in the short term, because we don't want that. Maybe in the longer run, once you have a very big company, you want to take money like a private equity and all, that is fine.
Mhm.
But what the current model, how VCs work, it dilutes our customer experience.
Correct. Correct.
Makes sense. So I
So,
think yes, Samyak, yes.
so when you say it dilutes your customer experience, you're saying basically from the perspective of, uh, since they are funding, they have a lot of say in what you should do, what you should know, and what you exactly want to do. That might be diverted, and you have to follow what
Yes,
they say. Because correct.
yes. So basically, they will see at the end of the day. I mean, I'm not talking about all the VCs, but a majority of them will see a return on
Absolutely. Agreed.
investment, right?
Agreed. Agreed.
And then the entire thought process of the company changes, right? Of the entire
Yes.
board and management changes, how you want
Mhm.
to go take this ahead in the longer run.
Mhm.
So we as a company will keep customers at the center of our all decisions. So
Right.
we are extremely customer centric, and the entire decisions we make, we let go our revenue also 5-10% if it creates good customer experience. So we have done that only, and we feel once external voices kick in, right, it becomes really difficult to take such decisions and let go of 5 to 10% revenue just to make customer experience better, because I don't think any VC will allow that.
Yeah, agreed. Makes sense. So, like personally, I love your content. It's like my end my day with reading Finshots for me. So, the content which you put, I think every teenager or everyone who's in their early 20s would love to read, or maybe late in the 30s, 40s also. But how do you go about researching, planning, executing the entire thing? Because you're four co-founders, so obviously your roles and responsibilities will be properly divided. So how does the entire process work?
See, I'm telling you again and again. Now things look very easy. We have team to do that, and there is less involvement. We still, one of the founders is involved, but initially back in those days, we used to research. Okay, me and Harish used to research. Shreyas used to write, and we used to publish it. Then one of us will make some designs and make it as an infographic, and then we push the article. So that's how it used to work, right? So research wise, I mean, obviously what is trending, what kind of topic will be, people will like to read. It shouldn't be boring, it should be interesting. So all that kind of editorial decisions and all, we used to take together, and article used to get published. So some point was very simple. Like right now, I mean, it's initially we used to get involved for the research also, but now because our another company is flourishing, so majority of our time is going there. So I mean, right now it's pretty structured. We have a team who can diligently do everything end to end. It's like a well-oiled machine now.
Understood. Understood. So everything like your content team, which would be in place now, they take the decisions on what to write on, how to write on, creating infographics and pushing the content.
I mean, we have writers. They write 3 to 4 articles based on that which we like. We feel
Okay.
one of our senior editor and founder takes the decision and publish it.
Okay. Understood.
So
Just going
Finshot
back.
is now. I will tell you. I mean, initially when you start such thing, it takes a lot of time and investment because you have to learn that skill. Okay.
Right.
It takes a lot of effort. So right now, what I tell you, well-oiled machine, it's very easy right now for us because we have done it so many times. But initially, back in those days, same thing was taking a very long time. So in terms of scalability, we definitely. But soon you do more and more times, the same articles or same topics might sound very trivial to you because you have already dabbled into it past. For example, RBI publishing their report. Some hiccups happening in agri sector or something. You might have done some article in last because you're writing from last 4 years.
Correct.
So you have such a repository of content that even if you don't have to put so much effort, right?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Understood.
So that is the thing. Yeah.
So just to take one step backward, so you were talking about not raising funds because your your goal of taking the organization way forward, sometimes it diverts away. So how actively are the Zerodha co-founders involved in maybe decision making or taking helping you out with everything in terms of what you need?
I mean,
like, are they actively involved?
They are not active. They are silent partners.
Okay.
They have, I mean, I would say next to zero involvement. We are operationally free. We do whatever we want, and they just help us in distribution. Maybe for example, we send something through Zerodha's distribution network, right? Using it somewhere like sending Finshots newsletter through Kite, right?
Okay.
Yeah, that kind of this thing. But yeah, they rarely interfere. So that kind of freedom we have.
Understood. Got it.
So, Pawan, now just shifting the entire discussion to Ditto, right? Like, which is the more focus area right now. So, again, I mean, I read Bhanu's post on LinkedIn as well yesterday, wherein he spoke of the entire journey, right? And you also at the beginning said that first you were focusing on creating a wealth management, a trading platform, right? From there, like, how did the pivot happen to insurance, right? Because again, that's a sector that many people have tried their hands at, but not many have seen the level of success that Ditto has seen, that too in such a short time. So how did that pivot happen, and like why from a wealth management trading sort of a solution to an insurance or an insurance tech sort of a solution did you guys move to?
So honestly, I mean, I think when you do startup, right, it takes a lot of time to gain expertise in that particular sector, and to become expert in that sector. It did take us a lot of time to come up with an understanding to karna kya hai. To an understanding where you understand ki, what makes a lot of sense, what makes business sense, what how is all about running a business like, because there are a lot of noise out there, and what to focus on, what not to focus on. If you ask me this question 3-4 years back, we were like, running a startup is means raising more funds, or raising money from VCs and calling yourself successful. So that kind of a narrative was there in the mind initially, but once you start building things, you understand, okay, who's your actual real investors, who actually you should care for, that you realize, okay, these are your customers. So where your peace of mind can always be. I have seen a lot of companies raising multiple big rounds, and at the end of the day, appeasing just the investors, and at the end, uh, throwing the towel and just going back to the bankruptcy, or let's say mergers, right? So we never want to become that. Okay, so idea was very clear: the real investors are customers. So if you
Right.
could win them, you crack the whole business model. Okay, so back then, whatever we were trying to dabble with, So we always had this idea, how do you make money from the process, right? How do you make money? It's a very good question. Like people, what is a business model? I mean, the idea is very simple. If you add value to people's life, uh, you will somewhere get to that point where you know how to make money. Okay, but it has to be addition, right? There has to be some kind of a value addition done to the users. Then only it can happen. Now with Finshots, we never wanted to do any kind of paid thing because it was very. I mean, that's not something we stand for. I mean, we have a very standard approach and premium approach in how we do things. We don't want to, sound very generic, sound very obvious. We never wanted to build something very, a tier three product. We never wanted to do that. We never wanted to do anything like that. So the idea was to, keeping Finshots paid only as a worst decision. A worst decision is the last resort decision. If nothing works, then till the time we wanted to do the experiment. And this wealth management thing, we tried doing it, but at the moment we're not convinced that this we can. It adds no value to the customer. And even if if it adds no value, what kind of money you can make from them, right? It just becomes a engine of a raising fund. So we don't want to get there, and we just dropped the idea. And but that in wealth management platform, there was one aspect called insurance, another was investing. So we realized this insurance is because pandemic was there, right? So that insurance thing was anyways going on and doing a lot of buzz. So we just realized that okay, why not? I mean, this insurance we are anyways looking for apply for license and all. We thought, let's give it a shot and see what we can simplify because we were anyways good in simplifying things. So it was a bet that we internally took. Let's do this. Okay, it just came out of it. It's not something we planned for, right? And we saw, yes, we can do a lot of things. We can make a lot of things simple, and it might add a lot of value to our users. And we just cut this thing and started this.
Understood. Super interesting. So I think the narrative, to make things simpler, right from Finception, then to Finshots, and then to Ditto, like keeping customer experience, user experience at the pinnacle. I think that was a common narrative that I saw across the three initiatives, if I may say so.
Yeah. That was always there. We never did. We never made any money in a lot of these things, but we eventually know the community was already built. We already know that community is really happy with us, that Finshots community, because we added a lot of value free of cost.
Correct.
So I mean, whatever we launch. So now we are at a point. It's just not about insurance. We can launch any fintech product and people will buy from us.
So I think because you put customer experience at the top, right? Like that trust, like you rightly mentioned that if we launch anything tomorrow, people will buy it, right? Like that sort of, drives the message forward. Just to, double click on that, right? So I think from our understanding and the research that we've done in terms of the Indian insurance market, right? Like the biggest gap or the white space that is there, right, is the fact that the market is very fragmented in terms of people having very limited knowledge in terms of which product should we take or which insurance is, the most beneficial for us, right? So just wanted to understand your perspective on how Ditto is trying to solve this, coupled up with the whole experience or user experience point of view.
I mean, see, in terms of if you see the market, right? I mean, insurance market is very hard to crack. Okay, the biggest bottleneck is not making a website or coming up with a no spam policy or value prop. The biggest concern is how do you get a lead? Okay, the lead acquisition cost is so high that you cannot launch any venture in insurance. Okay, it's next to impossible. The lead acquisition cost, until you do something out of for it, there is no way you can scale the product. Okay, so the idea for us was we will play in our own niche, our own community. That was the idea, and from there we'll expand slowly. Okay, we'll slowly word of mouth. We'll try to try to pull flywheels in to give us such a threshold force that it automatically starts running, right? The flywheel. And yeah, I mean, we didn't expect that it will launch like this. The takeoff will happen like this well. We never expected. But yeah, I mean, we are also a little surprised that Ditto made such a big dent, that we are already the second largest online player in this country. So let's see how it goes. Yeah.
So again, you spoke about the lead acquisition cost, or maybe the CAC, customer acquisition cost. So you guys are doing a lot of influencer marketing right now, on Instagram and stuff like that. So how has that also culminated? Has it helped you in growing faster than what you expected? Because right now, one thing we've realized is because of influencer marketing, maybe your marketing spend is going a little lower because you're going through that influencer route rather than spending a lot through Facebook ads, Google ads, other modes of spend. So does it help in getting your CAC lower?
Facebook ad and Google ad we never ran, actually, never tried. We never did. Till now it's
Right.
been, we never did any paid marketing in Ditto also till last year, if I'm not
Yes.
wrong.
Yes.
Okay, we
Right.
never
Right.
touched any, we never did any paid marketing.
Hmm.
But it cannot run like this for long. Facebook ad and Google ad we are still not in the favor.
Hmm.
That game we don't want to play. Influencer marketing, I mean, keeping CAC lower, you can say, I mean, anyways, we have a lot of organic leads. Okay. So doing influencer marketing is more like proper optimizing the capacity in proper way, because someday it might happen that, the organic leads were not that, appropriate. You didn't fill the full slots. So you basically rely on these influencers to basically make up for that 10 to 15% of your capacity, right? So CAC low, I don't see, because see, it depends on what kind of influencers you work with, okay, and what kind of campaigns you run. You have to be very clear about what kind of a campaign you run and how your marketing team frame those campaign with those influencers. Because sometimes what happens that with the same influencers, a few things might not work, right? Because the message that you want to deliver was not delivered in the way, right? So it takes a lot of back and forth, and at the end of the day, it culminates to what, how many leads you got and how much you spend. So if your team has done that optimization properly, so that CAC will be a variable then. In that case, if you have not done it properly, it will be very high now, because you got a lot of
Right.
less leads, right? So yeah,
Right.
it boils down to that. So you have to be internally a little smart to how you want to position. But yeah, I mean, it does increase spend, of course, for that 10 to 15% also. But I'm telling again and again, the company who will completely rely on this, there is no way you can do anything.
Correct.
There's no
Absolutely.
way you will out of the market.
Yes, yes. So, obviously, your entire growth of Finshots and to some extent Ditto until last year has been only word of mouth, right? And building a community around it. So, what was your distribution strategy in terms of at least maybe creating a community somewhere or pushing your content organically? How was the entire acquisition of customer organically with word of mouth happened over the last 3-4 years without spending a
Oh,
little
so
on ads?
initially, if I'm not wrong, you guys were not there in 2019. You joined IMK in 2020, right?
I don't know. I'm in 2019.
2019, okay.
Yes.
So we reached out to these IIMs and IITs to get a partnership with them and floating our newsletter in their email IDs. So
Yeah.
their finance clubs and all. So
Correct.
that was the
Okay.
first strategy that we used. And in all those colleges, I mean, I still have numbers of all your POCs back then. I mean, I think there will be more than 1,000 universities in my WhatsApp contact list now also. If you, I have shared with my marketing team, but now I don't see. But yeah, back then we did that, and we reached all these colleges very fast. Okay, and from there we scaled up. Okay, keeping that first audience, and those, then of course those people joined us on LinkedIn, and then on LinkedIn, through LinkedIn we used to create a lot of content and get new users. So yeah, it was a slow growth in the sense, I mean, we could run ads and get loads of users and boast 1 million, 2 million, but it was a very sticky audience who really loved you, joined your community. We never pushed them to give that, or share this, that, get referral or nothing. We did nothing. The simple reason was we wanted to keep it very open and lovable. Okay, whoever wants to see right now also, how many website you have seen who gives subscription like this? They will ask you for give your email ID to log in,
Yeah.
right?
Yes.
To get the
Yes.
email. We never did that. We was just isko padhna hai, aao padho aur jao. We don't
Mhm.
want, if you don't want daily, don't subscribe. As simple as that, right? So that level of you know uh, trust and that level of freedom that we have always given, because what will I do to take your email ID if I know you are not a serious this thing? What will I do with your email, right? So we never wanted to play that game, and it was always, Finshot was always our marketing engine for our long run products. So we already knew we don't have to make money from this. So just let it be a user base of people who really like you and love you, who are your flag bearers, and use it in the future products, right?
Correct.
So that's how it was ideated in the long run. And yeah, I mean, those people who graduated from IIMs, IITs, NITs, Delhi universities purchased Ditto Insurance after 2 years, as exactly we thought. They became your readers initially, and now they are the
Consumer.
this thing
Right.
consumers. So that's how it
Right.
worked.
Makes sense. Makes sense.
Awesome. So Pawan, now, moving to the concluding ends of our conversation, right? Like, there are a few fixed questions that we, ask each panel member in terms of getting his or her insights on, right? So the first of those questions is that Ditto and Finshots are essentially two very different entities, but they are merged and, are working in cohesion of sorts, right? So how do you, as a founder and as a team of four co-founders, right, go about hiring talent at your organization? And in terms of a long term vision, right, like, what do you aspire of seeing Ditto and Finshot, say, 10 years down the line? Like, how do you see these two very different companies bring about together and, reach to a particular level?
I mean, see, in terms of Ditto, it's very clear we want to become the largest insurance player in this country. And what I feel is, it will become a trust house for things like in any financial products. Like, just like how you use Google for any search engine and you trust Google so much, right? I mean, it's just like a de facto brand, just like Godrej yaad aata, right? Now, you want to buy insurance, you should remember Ditto, nothing else, right? So that kind of a brand perception is created. I don't want to stock you, okay, I want a $1 billion revenue to grow. I feel that's a very short term and myopic view of looking how you want to build brand. You should think something, that is sustainable and built for a long run thing. And I feel whenever we talk about insurance, they feel Ditto is something that should strike their mind in the first go. And with Finshots, I mean, it's already a kind of a media brand which is short run. But yeah, I'm seeing going forward, Finshot will have a very high brand recall and authority. Whatever we write, it's right now. Only people believe whatever is written. If people have that percentage coming from Finshot, it will definitely be the right news, right? So in the news space, we want to at least disrupt these clickbaity stuffs, and though we know frequencies and all matters, but we still want to grow our base to a level where it's gets every news is gets really viral, or people look up to it every day. I mean, it's still a lot of people might not know. If you see, there is a very uh, small segment which still follows news, that I mean, you can say premium segment or college graduate segment, right? But yeah, we want to go beyond that with Finshot, because that's how the growth will happen for Ditto also. So Finshots, you have to understand, it's a distribution channel of Ditto, right? So more the distribution, better for Ditto.
Makes sense totally. And I agree with your point of view because you guys create a lot of genuine content. So if the content is genuine, if the people like your content, you'll by default get, that word of mouth reach, by default get subscribers, or by default people will come back to the channel to kind of read your stuff. So totally agree on, making your content genuine and getting the audience organically. The last question we basically have it's like a merger of two questions. So one thing is, what's your definition of financial freedom, Pawan? And secondly, what are the few books, blogs or newsletters which helped you kind of grow as a human or learn, which helped you learn a lot in terms of your knowledge base, whether it be finance, insurance, how to write, anything. So these two questions together.
I mean, if you ask me financial freedom, see, for me, I have a very different view. I don't follow generic things and a lot of generic views. I have my own thoughts and I follow that. Right or wrong, of course, the end result decide. I believe, I don't have to think if I like something, if I have to buy, I don't have to think whether the money is in my account or not. That kind of thing, if you have achieved that, I think that's financial freedom. Of course, obviously, it depends. There is a limit to all luxury that you can have, but I believe for me, definition is very simple. I don't have to think twice whether if I like this so much, love this so much, I should be able to purchase it, buy it, right? Because if, in my experience and in my opinion, I feel the real assets are, of course, the experiences that you learn over the time, right? I mean, I have banked on my experience a lot to come to here. Lot of I mean, I have paid money to gain those experiences. Of course, that's not sounds very financially savvy, but I mean, to me, creating financial independence is more like, you know it's not about just having money in your bank account and having an account and you don't know what to do, and with inflation it is just eating you out. But the real thing is, how do you get those financial intelligence? How do you make money out of the money, right? So once you learn that, the freedom itself will happen. So yeah, I mean, I want to be more, I feel people should be more interested in those topics of creating money from the money itself. If that happens, I think, yeah, that is financial freedom itself.
Agreed. And any books, recommendations,
Yeah,
newsletters, which you obviously.
see, I liked reading Y Combinator blogs and Farnham Street initially back in those days, and still I sometimes read books. May I mean, Intelligent Investor, One Up on Wall Street. If you are really, because I was a big fan of stock market,
Right.
always I used to read all those books, right? Nudge, and there are lot many. I mean, it depends on. I mean, for finance, if you ask me, obviously, Monica Hallam's book is also really
Mhm.
nice, right? So all these things you can follow. I mean, it depends where you draw the line. Uh, but yeah, I mean, there are a lot of good resources in the market. If you want to really dabble on, because I remember reading a lot of inspirational stuffs from the Farnham Street and Y Combinator, and it created a lot of long lasting impact in my life. And because the point is, when you're doing something like a startup, it cannot be myopic. You have to think for the long term, and you have to have that kind of personality where you can imbibe those thoughts with you. So yeah, I mean, it did help me a lot. Now also, I mean, I mostly preach the same thing. I mean, how to take better decisions, how to create mental models where life's smaller or larger decisions can be made. It should not drag you for a long time, right? You should have a clear regret frame, no regret framework, where whatever you took, you should accept it. So yeah, I mean, I feel, any book, newsletter, any resource that can make you create those frameworks and mental models where you could make better decisions over the time with no regrets, and more optimism, right? More good positive feeling. I mean, it's a better thing. I mean, there are a lot of things. I don't remember all of them. Whatever name I had, I told you.
Mhm. Yeah, I think Finance Street is one of the best blogs, right? Shane Paris writes a lot on mental models, and I think those are really helpful. Plus,
Yes, yes.
yeah, plus Charlie Munger also has a lot of write-ups on these mental models itself. So I think mental models is something which is really helpful if you can, have it stored in your subconscious and can apply whenever it's required. So totally
Correct,
agree.
correct.
So yeah, thanks, Pawan. I think this was an amazing conversation. We learned a lot, and one thing would request you is keep making such lovely content for all your audiences, and I think they all love you. They love what Finshots is doing. They love what Ditto is doing, and it's I think one of the most genuine companies. And I think after listening to this, they'll believe in your vision and mission that you want to create something which is scalable and heard of always, not as a company which just does marketing for increasing CAC, but creating the most genuine content in finance and insurance space. So